Right now, America is the undisputed #1 economy on Earth. $29 trillion GDP, the most powerful military, the world's reserve currency, the home of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. It has been #1 for over 125 years. But by 2050, just 24 years from now, Goldman Sachs, PwC, and the World Economic Forum all agree America will no longer be #1. The entire global economic order is about to be rewritten. New superpowers are rising, old giants are falling, and the country that replaces America at the top will shock most people watching this video. Today, we go through every major economy and reveal exactly who wins and who loses by 2050. Before we look at 2050, let's understand where we are today. The current top 5 economies by GDP are #1 USA at $29 trillion, #2 China at $18 trillion, #3 Germany at $4.5 trillion, #4 Japan at $4.2 trillion, #5 India at $3.9 trillion. America's economy is roughly the same size as the next 3 countries combined. That's how dominant the US is right now. But here's the thing. Economic power is like a supertanker. It moves slowly, but once it turns, it's almost impossible to stop. And the turn has already started. The global economy is expected to double in size by 2050, growing 130% from today. And almost all of that growth will happen in Asia. Let's start with China, the country everyone assumed would dominate 2050. Here's the complicated truth. Goldman Sachs projects China will overtake America as the world's largest economy by 2037. China's GDP is forecast to reach $57 trillion by 2050, nearly 35% larger than America's projected $42.9 trillion. So yes, China takes #1, but here's what changes everything. China's growth is slowing dramatically. In the 2050s, Goldman Sachs expects China to grow at just 1.1% per year, actually slower than America's expected 1.4% growth. Why? 3 devastating problems. First, China's population is shrinking. By 2035, 30% of China's population will be over 60. That's an enormous aging burden. Second, the property crisis. China's real estate sector collapse has destroyed trillions in wealth. Third, innovation ceiling. China still struggles to move from manufacturing to genuine world-class innovation. China gets to #1, but it may not stay there long. Now, here is the most underrated story of the next 25 years: India. Goldman Sachs projects India will become the world's 3rd largest economy by 2050, potentially closing in on America's #2 position. India's GDP is projected to reach $52 trillion by 2050, growing at 3.1% annually in the 2050s, the fastest of any major economy on Earth. Here's why India is different from China. India has a young population, median age of just 28 today, compared to China's 39. India will have the world's largest working-age population for decades. More people working equals more productivity equals more growth. India is also the world's fastest-growing major tech hub. Bangalore is already being called the Silicon Valley of Asia. And India benefits from something China lost long ago. It's a democracy with English as a business language, making it far more attractive to Western companies relocating supply chains away from China. India in 2050 could be the most important economic story of the century. Now here are the countries that will shock most people, the unexpected winners of 2050. Number 1 surprise, Indonesia. Goldman Sachs projects Indonesia will become the world's fourth largest economy by 2050, surpassing Japan, Germany, UK, and Brazil. Indonesia has 280 million people, the fourth largest population on Earth, a median age of just 30, massive natural resources, and a growing middle class consuming more every year. Number 2 surprise, Nigeria. Africa's most populous nation is projected to enter the top 15 economies by 2050. Nigeria's population will reach 400 million by 2050, larger than the United States. A young workforce plus massive oil reserves plus growing tech sector equals serious economic contender. Number 3 surprise, Vietnam, projected to be one of the 3 fastest growing economies through 2050, growing at 5.2% annually. Vietnam is the biggest winner of the US-China trade war as supply chains relocate there. Now, the painful part, the countries that are falling, the losers of 2050. First, Japan. Currently the world's fourth largest economy. By 2050, Japan will fall to around 8th or 9th place. Japan's share of global GDP will collapse to just 2.3%. Why? Japan's population is not just aging, it's shrinking. Japan loses 1.1% of its working-age population every year. That means less production, less consumption, less growth, indefinitely. Second, Germany. Europe's powerhouse will drop from 3rd today to around 9th by 2050. Germany's manufacturing model, built on cheap Russian energy and Chinese demand, has been shattered. Both those advantages are gone. Third, the entire European Union. The EU's share of global GDP will drop from 14.5% today to just 9% by 2050, less than China alone. Europe is slowly becoming economically irrelevant on the global stage. The 21st century is Asia's century, and Europe hasn't figured out how to respond. Now let's talk honestly about America's future. The narrative is not as dark as the headlines suggest. Yes, America drops to number 2 by 2037, but America's GDP still grows to $42.9 trillion by 2050. That's 48% bigger than today. Americans will be richer on average in 2050 than they are now. America's GDP per capita, the measure of individual wealth, will remain significantly higher than China's. China will be a bigger economy overall, but the average American will still be wealthier than the average Chinese citizen. America's advantages are real and durable. The world's best universities, 17 of the top 20, the deepest financial markets on Earth, the most innovative tech ecosystem, English as the global language, and AI, which America currently leads, could be the defining advantage of the next 25 years. America's biggest threat is not China. It's its own $39 trillion debt burden and political dysfunction. The enemy within is more dangerous than the competitor outside. So, what does the 2050 economic order mean for your investments right now? 4 massive opportunities. Opportunity 1, India. If Goldman Sachs is right about India becoming the world's 3rd largest economy, Indian stocks and ETFs could be one of the greatest long-term investments of the next 25 years. The iShares MSCI India ETF gives you broad India exposure. Opportunity 2, Indonesia and Southeast Asia. Vietnam, Philippines, Indonesia, the rising manufacturing centers of the world. Southeast Asia ETFs give you exposure to the fastest-growing region on Earth. Opportunity 3, commodities. As billions of Asians join the middle class, they buy cars, build homes, consume energy. Commodity prices could stay elevated for decades. Opportunity 4, don't abandon America. U.S. tech, AI, and financial companies will benefit from global growth, even if America's relative position declines. The S&P 500 still makes sense as your core holding. So there it is, the world in 2050. China takes number 1, but faces demographic collapse. India rises to number 3, potentially the greatest growth story of the century. Indonesia shocks everyone at number 4. Japan and Germany quietly fade, and America, still enormous, still innovative, still wealthy, adjusts to being number 2 for the first time in 125 years. The 21st century belongs to Asia. The question is, are you positioned to benefit from it, or are you only invested in yesterday's winners? Subscribe, because next week we're breaking down exactly how to invest in India and Southeast Asia from America, step by step. The practical playbook for profiting from the biggest economic shift of our lifetime. See you there.